This camp for this fight hardest in my life. I did the first camp for weights, to gain weight. It's very hard camp. I was in Dagestan. I was in Russia in the mountain, just for the lifting, for the gain weight. This camp for this fight hardest in my life.
This is your hardest camp?
How much do you think he beat you also on?
He's got to be 190-ish, in the 190 range. He's got to be. That's what he looks like to me.
I never saw him in person.
Yeah, he's thick. He's thick and big. I mean, he's not a small. He's not 155 pound. Islam looked like Michelangelo sculpted him.
He's so big. He's so strong, so
What
good.
does he weigh? What does he weigh like normal? Like right now, if you called him up, what do you weigh, brother?
I would say at least minimum like 185, 190.
Got here. He's 210 pounds.
No, it's like
That guy's 250 pounds.
his strength feels like 250 pounds.
That's what I hear.
But that's the thing with them. They're always training. No matter what they're doing, they always at least run once a day or grapple.
A call from Ali Abdelaziz, who's a very good friend of mine, who was not happy, who is saying the same thing that you're saying, that I'm calling out Islam for cowardice. I do not blame him of cowardice. I am saying the fact pattern in history, when we look back, the fact pattern is no different than I'm claiming it is, which is that he left when he was challenged, and that did happen.
Everyone is talking about Islam Makhachev moving up to welterweight for UFC 322. They're calling it a legacy fight, a champion versus champion super fight. They're showing you pictures of him looking huge, looking like a monster, but they're not telling you the whole story. They're selling you a fairy tale, and in a sport this brutal, fairy tales have a nasty habit of turning into nightmares. What if I told you the biggest fight for Islam Makhachev isn't against Jack Della Maddalena? What if I told you his biggest fight is against the scale, against his own body, and that it's a fight he's on the verge of losing? Everyone is asking if he can beat Jack. The real question is, will he even make it to the cage? By the end of this video, you're going to see the side of this story that the UFC doesn't want you to see. You'll understand the science, the history, and the whispers coming out of the shadows that suggest this champion versus champion dream fight could collapse into a catastrophic failure before the first bell even rings. Let's start with the picture everyone is painting, the official narrative. Islam Makhachev, the dominant, suffocating lightweight champion, a man who has looked practically unbeatable, is finally moving up to welterweight. It's a move that, on the surface, makes all the sense in the world. For years, we've heard the horror stories of his cuts to 155 pounds. His teammate and former champion, Daniel Cormier, has talked about how Makhachev walks around at a staggering 200 pounds when not in camp. His coach, Javier Mendez, has admitted that for his UFC 294 camp, Islam started at a hefty 191 pounds and had to shed nearly 35 pounds. We've all seen the footage from past weight cuts, the drained face, the sheer agony etched into his features as he pushes his body to the absolute limit. In fact, Makhachev himself has admitted that these brutal cuts left him feeling like he was only performing at 60 or 70% of his true potential on fight night. So him moving up to 170, where he'll face Jack Della Maddalena for the title on November 15th in the legendary Madison Square Garden, should be a good thing, right? A healthier, stronger, more energetic Makhachev is a terrifying prospect for the entire welterweight division. His own team is projecting an air of absolute confidence. Coach Mendez recently said he was shocked at how well Islam has put on the weight, stating he's sitting at a solid 191 pounds and that they won't have an issue with the move up. This is the story of a champion unleashed, a monster set free from the chains of a brutal weight cut ready to claim a second belt. This is the story they want you to believe. But it's a dangerously simplistic view of a very complex and risky process. Now let's peel back the curtain and look at what's really happening behind the scenes. The part of the story that gets conveniently left out of the hype videos. Everyone focuses on the weight cut, but they forget about the weight gain. Bulking up for a high-level athletic endeavor isn't as simple as just eating more and lifting heavy. You're not just adding mass, you're fundamentally altering the machine that is your body, and that machine has been fine-tuned for years to operate at a specific weight and output. Makhachev himself admitted to the struggles in the early stages of this transition. He talked about how, after a lifetime of forcing his weight down, his body was fighting back against the attempt to bulk up. He said, "I will try to be big. You know, it's not easy, man. My weight stays in the same position." Think about that. The champion's body was in a state of confusion. It was so accustomed to being starved that it resisted the change. While his coach now says things are on track, those early struggles are a massive red flag. He's not just gaining weight, he's trying to add functional, high-performance muscle without sacrificing the cardio that has been a cornerstone of his suffocating style. Adding 10 to 15 pounds of muscle is one thing. Adding that muscle while maintaining the ability to wrestle at a relentless pace for 5 championship rounds is another beast entirely. Every extra pound of muscle demands more oxygen. It requires your heart and lungs to work harder. We have seen countless fighters move up in weight, look incredible on the scales, and then completely gas out in the later rounds because their cardiovascular system couldn't keep up with the demands of their new, bigger frame. This isn't a video game where you just add points to a strength attribute. This is a delicate biological balancing act, and there is a very real chance that in trying to become a bigger, stronger fighter, Makhachev might be inadvertently destroying his greatest weapon, his inexhaustible gas tank. And this isn't just speculation. The UFC is a graveyard of failed move-up-in-weight experiments. It's littered with the careers of fighters who thought bigger was better and paid a steep price for it. Look at Kelvin Gastelum, a fighter who was constantly plagued by his weight cuts to 170, moved up to middleweight, and while he had success, he never quite reached the championship level many predicted, often giving up a size and strength advantage to natural 185-pounders. Look at Anthony Rumble Johnson, an absolute terror at light heavyweight, who started his career at welterweight and went through hell to make the weight. But when he moved all the way up to heavyweight, he didn't have the same devastating impact. Or, for a more recent example, look at the man Makhachev beat twice, Alexander Volkanovski, a dominant featherweight champion who moved up to lightweight and despite incredible performances fell short against Islam. Moving up and winning a title against the incumbent champion is one of the rarest feats in this sport. Why? Because you're not just fighting a bigger man, you're fighting a man whose entire career has been built to thrive in that weight class. Jack Della Maddalena is a natural welterweight. He has spent years optimizing his body to perform at 170 pounds. His strength, his cardio, his durability, it's all calibrated for this division. Makhachev is, for all intents and purposes, a visitor here, a tourist in a land of giants. He's undertaking a scientific experiment with his own body, and the results will only be revealed under the brightest lights on the biggest stage. He's gambling his legacy on the assumption that a 70% version of himself at lightweight is still good enough to beat the best at welterweight. But what if the process of bulking up, of changing his entire physical composition, has actually made him less efficient? What if it's made him slower? What if his chin, which has been tested at 155, reacts differently to punches from men who carry significantly more natural power? These are the questions that are being ignored in the rush to crown a new 2-division king. So what's the promise I made you at the beginning of this video? I promised you the truth. The truth is, this is not a done deal. The headlines are focused on the fight, but the real story, the one unfolding right now, is the silent war Islam Makhachev is waging with his own body. He's in a race against time to not just make weight, but to create a new version of himself that can compete with the elite of a heavier division. Every food he eats, every weight he lifts, every sprint he runs is a variable in a hugely complex equation, and a single miscalculation could lead to disaster. He might show up on weigh-in day looking like a world beater, but come the 3rd, 4th, or 5th round, the truth will be revealed. Will we see a new, more powerful champion, or will we see a fighter whose body betrays him, a fighter who realizes too late that he tampered with a formula that was already perfect? Forget the predictions of who wins the fight for a moment. The real event to watch is the weigh-in. Watch his face, look at his body language. Is he confident and healthy, or is he drawn and exhausted? Because that will tell you everything you need to know. This move to welterweight isn't just a challenge, it's the single biggest risk of Islam Makhachev's career, and there's a terrifyingly real chance that it could all come crashing down. The clock is ticking for UFC 322, and the question remains, will the king arrive, or will the experiment fail before it even truly begins?
Because like many things now, I changed my sparring partner. The olds have to be big, and I put more weights. That's why it's the hardest camp.
That's crazy, man.
But this is the easiest weight cut. Before, like today, what's Monday? Today's Monday.
Yes.
Monday usually, like no power, like bad mood. But today I have same power, same.
What's the maximum weight you weighed so far?
87 kg. I don't know if you guys know.
What is that? My chat would know. Chat, what is that in LBS pounds? Let me tell you right now. They'll know right now. They're mad at me for the date. 191. I didn't know that. 191?
Yeah.
Oh my
but
god.
I have to make 170.
That's crazy.
What's your weight?